as usual, with my ugly mug here. And I'm really lucky because I'm joined by Bernadette from Great Southern Wales this morning. And Bernadette is awesome.
Thank you.
She's really well known around Great Southern. So what we're going to do is we're going to get kind of straight into it for you, not to keep this too long, but Bernadette's a wealth of knowledge. So here's a plug for Great Southern Wales. That's done now. Beautiful. So Bernadette, I've had a few questions come in already. If you're there and you're watching live, you can just type down the bottom and we'll be able to see some of your comments and any questions at the same time. Why do I need a will? Why do I need a will?
Mark, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. I get it. You don't want to think about dying.
Mm-hmm.
None of us do, but we will die one day.
Yeah.
And when that time comes, don't you want to decide now who will look after your children?
Yeah.
Who will run your business? Who will run your trust? Who will look after your pets? Where your assets will be given?
Mm-hmm.
Who will administer your estate? There's lots of decisions you want to make now in preparation for them.
Okay, so that's why I need a will.
You do. If you don't make those decisions now and prepare documents, then the government decides through legislation what happens to those assets.
Right.
Okay, so if you have a wife at the moment or a husband, not everything will be given to your husband or wife if you die without a will.
What?
No.
What? But
No.
I thought, isn't that the whole thing? It goes straight to the...
So the husband or wife will get a certain, so I get 1/3, and then the children will get 2/3.
Okay.
So the wife or husband could lose the home, for example.
Wow.
So it's all up to legislation.
Yeah.
And if you have young children, the family court will decide who will look after the children as well.
Well, so you could be married,
Mm-hmm.
and it's yourself and your partner, and you've got 2 children, for example, and the government decided the partner gets 1/3, the 2 children who are young, they get 2/3 of it, maybe put into a trust or something because they're too young, and also the children go and live with somebody else.
Oh, if it's the dad, then the dad will be there.
Yeah.
But if you both die, then who's going to look after the children?
Right. Okay. My cast is flabbered.
So it is a myth. Everybody thinks that without a will, so everybody thinks when you die, everything will go to your husband or wife.
Mm-hmm.
That will not happen.
Right. Okay.
You need a will.
Okay. So would that be the same with like superannuation as well?
Oh, good question. Superannuation does not form part of your will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you die without a will and without doing anything about your super, the trustee of the super fund has full discretion as to who to give your superannuation to.
Wow. Okay.
So if you have an ex-spouse, they can make a claim. If you have adult children who you no longer talk to, they can make a claim on your super.
Okay.
And if you have a will which says, I give everything to my husband or wife, right, that's good, but it doesn't cover your super.
Okay.
So if you die and you have super, the trustee could give all of that to your children.
Right. So you're saying that if, let's say your circumstances are such that you've had a breakup in marriage, you've remarried somebody else, you have to contact your superannuation companies to change the name of the beneficiary?
Correct.
Okay.
You have to do, this is important guys, you have to do a binding death benefit nomination. Grab a pen and paper, binding death benefit nomination, binding on your super fund to pay your death benefits, which is your super and life insurance, to the people you nominate.
Binding death benefit. See, I'm writing it down now. So, you know what? I'm even going to write it in the comments here just so everybody knows. I'm going to put super binding death nomination.
Benefit nomination.
Fund. Benefit.
BDB. Benefit. Nomination. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So at a minimum, everyone, you need a will. And you need a binding death benefit nomination.
Okay, so Aaron's just jumped on and he's just said, I just got engaged and we'll be married next year. So what impact would this have on any existing wills?
Congratulations, Aaron.
Yeah, congratulations, Aaron.
Woo-hoo, we love that. If you sign a will today and you get married in the future, that marriage will revoke your will.
Excellent.
So if you and Annie sign a will today, you get married in the future, and then you die on your honeymoon, you do not have a will. So what you need to do, you actually need to ideally see a lawyer who will put a contemplation of marriage clause in your will, Aaron. So you sign that will today with the contemplation of marriage clause. You get married in the future, this is still your will.
Okay, so you can essentially do the will, and if I get married, then the will is still valid.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
cool. Hope that one helped, Aaron.
And also it's the same with divorce. So if you're separated and you get divorced you do your will today, saying I give everything to my children, not to the husband, and you get divorced in the future, that divorce will revoke your will as well.
Oh, awesome. So you can kind of pre-plan.
Correct.
Yeah, no worries, Aaron. Oh, you're welcome, Aaron. You're more than welcome. Okay, so I've also had another question come in as well, which is kind of along the same path because everybody's scared of lawyers and how much they cost.
Mm-hmm.
But can I just get a will from the post office? Because they're pretty cheap and I can do it myself.
I actually had this question today from a client.
Yeah.
Please no, please. Yes, we say get a will done,
Yeah.
but make sure it's up to date and properly advised. Okay? So post office wills, if you have a trust, a family trust that carries on your business, a post office will not cover that trust.
Right.
And what happens to the assets of the trust and control.
Mm-hmm.
If you have property in a self-managed super fund, then your will not cover the self-managed super fund either.
Okay.
And in fact, your post office will, as you know, will not cover your superannuation because you need to have a binding death benefit nomination.
Binding death benefit.
Okay, so if you have a company as well and you do a post office will, you give your shares in the post office will to your spouse. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But what if the two of I are in business and we have a company?
Yeah.
You're a shareholder, I'm a shareholder, I die, I give my shares to Paul, my husband.
Yeah.
Right? He now comes in the business. Do you want to be in business with Paul?
No, I'm not in business with Paul.
Okay. So your post office will not cover the situation whereby Paul owns my shares. Now I'm in business with Mark. He knows nothing about the business. Right? All Paul wants is the value of my share of the business out. Okay, so you need a buy-sell agreement.
Okay.
So a post office will is not sufficient.
Okay, so post office will, are you saying that just for the general person in their everyday life, not in necessarily business, post office will is kind of all right, but it's kind of not all right as well?
Not all right. We are seeing post office wills today. So a client has died with a client comes in and their husband or wife or child has died with a post office will. The post office will may not have been signed properly.
Right.
Okay, so it's not signed properly. It may have to go to the Supreme Court for probate. It's not signed properly, and you have to go through more paperwork.
And then it's going to be more cost, and at that time you just want everything cleared up as quickly as possible because you're grieving, right? You've lost your loved ones. Okay.
And also with the post office will, you think it's okay, I've done my will, guys, signed it, and I've put it in my safe. And it's keep it on the shelf product. That's it, we're going to keep it up there. But then you get divorced, or you get married, or you have more children, or you have a business, or you do other things. That will's not going to be valid. Like it's going to be up to date.
All right, so really, then a post office will can be great for a short term here. This is I'm making this.
That's right.
This straight away, but you really need to get somebody like yourself or another lawyer, depending on whereabouts you are, to make sure that you're on top of it because you'll follow up with your clients, right?
Yes,
Well,
that's right.
No, this has happened.
That's
right.
Because we've also heard of children and their mum or dad has died. They had a post office will. They know they had a post office will. It's in the house somewhere. But we don't know where it is.
Right.
So the children are rummaging through the office, looking for it, making a big mess. Whereas if you had done it with a lawyer, the lawyer would have your will. We look at the death notices every day. That's Paul's job. And if you are on our list of people we have wills for, we will contact your loved ones.
Right. Okay.
So they don't have to.
So they don't have to worry about it. Okay. Well, that's a lovely thing that you guys do.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people don't realise that lawyers don't do that sort of stuff. It's the old adage, right? A lawyer is out just for themselves and out for money, but it's not that at all. You're there to help.
Correct. And for wills lawyers as well, the reason why I set up my firm was to really, and litigation lawyers don't listen to this, but to stop litigation lawyers from getting all of your assets.
Right.
Okay? Because if you get a proper will done today, properly advised, up to date, it will all go through smoothly. There'll be no children fighting over your estate.
Yeah.
No farm going to somebody else, etc. Your business. Paul won't run the company with Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Paul will get the money out. It will all be done properly.
Yeah.
And therefore, the litigation lawyers won't be involved.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. I like that. I like not having to have any other people involved, especially when you need that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on though. I've got a will, but how often does it need to be updated?
Ideally, we say, the BDBNs,
Mm-hmm.
some of them only last 3 years.
Oh, okay.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so we generally say update your will, have a look at your BDBN every 3 years.
Okay.
Okay, other circumstances in which it needs to be updated, we've mentioned these before.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage.
Yeah. Marriage.
Divorce.
New children. Yeah.
Buying a
changes.
business, buying property, those type of things. If you change your name, you don't need to change your will. If you change where you live, you don't need to change your will either.
Yeah. Oh, Karen. Karen is saying, are beneficiaries allowed to see the will prior to probate being approved? Are beneficiaries allowed to be executors?
Karen, great question. In relation to number one, generally no.
Mm-hmm.
Beneficiaries cannot see the will before probate. And in relation to two, yes, a beneficiary can be an executor. And in most cases, they are.
Oh, awesome.
So in my will, it's Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Paul's not around, it'll be Juliet, which is an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so that was quite a nice, easy one. Thank you very much for that one. Got here though, what are the top 5 things that you should make sure are covered? Oh, there
Again.
you go. Top 5 things, right?
5 things.
Five things. No more. One.
Can you see that?
Yeah,
one. Binding death benefit nomination.
Oh, yeah,
Your
fine.
will does not cover your superannuation or life insurance, so make sure you have a valid binding death benefit nomination.
Right, and we've covered that one. Number 2.
Number 2, if you have a trust. So if you're carrying on your business through a trust,
Yeah.
your will doesn't cover it, so you need to look at the trust deed.
Yeah. Okay. So
To
now we're talking, and let's a lot of trusts, especially in the region, are farmers.
Yep.
So all the farmers out there, make sure you've got your will. Right?
Okay, so you have a trust, you got to look at the trust to see who controls the trust. Who's the trustee appoints a guardian?
Yeah.
And then you need to deal with those in the trust. So that's number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3,
Number 3.
your business. So as I said before, basic structure of a company, 2
Yeah.
shareholders, Mark and I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make sure your will provides for my shares. If I die, they go to my husband.
Yeah.
But make sure that my husband gets the money out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
And
it's
then-
nice and clear that the shares are going across, but then I'll be buying those shares anyway, and we've had that conversation
Correct.
beforehand. Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
And then with Mark, you've got to make sure that he has enough money
Yeah.
to pay Paul out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you don't want to sell business assets
No, that's right.
to pay him out. And that's where insurance comes in.
Yeah. Okay. So that all ties up to insurance. It's a lot to remember, isn't it? My
So
God.
So that's for businesses.
And we're only on number 3. Jesus. Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, okay, really important. This is probably number 1. You need to provide for your family.
Yep.
Okay, you have to provide for your dependents.
Yep. Absolutely.
If you don't, there are certain people that can make a family provision claim.
Mm-hmm.
And when we meet with you, we will look at all of your family members
Yep.
to see if there are any dependents
Mhm.
and whether you need to provide for them as well.
Okay.
So that's really important, i.e. if you have a house, we have a house together,
Yeah.
and there's a mortgage, we're married, and there's a
Oh,
mortgage, and there's a mortgage on it, say there's a $500,000 mortgage on it.
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home mum,
Mm-hmm.
Mark dies, I get the house, but I get a $500,000 mortgage.
So hence your insurance is really important, so then you're not left with that big debt.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct. So you need to do that.
Yeah, and number 5?
And number 5, make sure the right people are in the right seats. So you've got to choose the right guardian of your children. So make sure, and this is probably the hard thing for a lot of young parents, if both me and my husband or wife die, who's going to look after the kids? Make sure you choose the right person as a guardian. And again, we're going to review this nomination constantly. Because you might choose mum and dad right now, but then they're old and frail in the future, so you want to change that.
And that doesn't have to be a family member, right?
No.
That could be anybody you want. You feel really, you've got a really close friend, and they're like, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess in the olden days it was who the godparents, right? That was kind of the thing.
Correct.
So now you've got to put that in the will. It isn't just, they're the godparents. So.
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
Correct. So we go through that with you in the initial meeting.
Yeah.
And then the other appointment is the executor.
Yeah.
So make sure you choose someone you know who's willing and able to administer your estate as well.
Okay, so Karen's actually touched on that one there. She said, as the youngest couple in our family, how do you choose the executor?
Oh, good question. It's the youngest couple in our family. It could be, we go through your family tree. So we go through mum, dad, siblings, in-laws, your children, grandchildren, a whole bunch of people. Ideally, the executor should be someone local.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you and your husband die, then the executor will have to make sure your home is kept safe, and then they have to deal with the contents of your home as well.
Yeah. That's hard. I've had to do that. It's really
And
difficult.
then if there is a will, the lawyer can help you with administering the will. So that's relatively straightforward. But the executor one ideally should be local. Ideally someone you trust to do the right thing by you and honour your wishes. They do have the will, which is an instruction manual as to how to distribute your estate.
Yeah.
The executor, if you give your assets to your children, but they don't take until they're 25, the executor generally will manage their inheritance until they're 25.
Right.
So you want to make sure they're also financially savvy to manage that. So there's a number of factors there.
Okay, so Karen, local, somebody who's can follow the instructions, and really somebody who's financially savvy.
And willing and able as well. So mum and dad in Sydney, this is my parents, they wanted to choose me as their executor, but I'm all the way in WA. I'm a law firm owner, I have a young child, and I said to mum and dad, look, whilst I would love to do it, it's going to take a big chunk of my time. Generally it takes up to 12 months to administer an estate. And it's basically taking 12 months out of my life to go to Sydney to be an executor for mum and dad's will.
Yeah.
So I've
And you know
said,
what you're doing. So.
Correct. So I've actually said no, and I said I would rather the executor be my brother because he's already in Sydney, but I'll be there to guide him
Yeah, of course.
as and when it's needed. So you need an executor who's willing and able to do the work for you and can also talk to your advisor. So if you own a business, they technically run your business. Okay?
Yeah.
So they have to have that relationship with your accountant, with your financial advisor, with your employees.
So you're saying that the executor of the will essentially is the holding pot. They're essentially you when you pass away,
Correct.
Even for your business until the business is sold. Let's say you're
Correct.
selling a business. So you might have somebody there who has no idea about business at all, and now they've got to run the business to
Correct.
be able to get the right amount of money to give to everybody else.
Correct. Correct. Or
Choose the right executor.
Or you have a letter of wishes, and in there you say, executor, this is my second in command. So my second in command is this person. Executor, you need to talk to them about running the business.
Yeah.
Executor, I have a digital asset management plan as well. These are all my passwords and instructions for my digital assets as well.
Yeah.
Executor, these are other wishes in relation to my trust, my businesses, all that.
Okay. And talking of passwords, obviously cyber security is a big thing, so don't so make sure you've got your passwords somewhere safe that can be then easily picked up by somebody because you're going to be changing them all the time. Oh, Chris, thanks. Yeah, we're loving doing this as well. Thanks very much. Okay, what do you see, Bernie? Sorry, Bernadette.
That's fine. Bernie's fine.
I really should stop.
Call me
doing that.
Bernie because I'm from our Bernie.
Okay. You're our Bernie. Okay. What do you see that people don't realise they should do?
The number one trap at the moment, that's why I keep saying this all the time.
Mhm.
Can you guess what it is?
Is it about superannuation?
Yeah. So superannuation for a lot of people, apart from the family home, super and life insurance is your biggest asset.
Yeah.
Okay. Your will does not cover it. So please have a look at your super statement, see if you've made a nomination, and generally on your super statement, look at the fine print. Okay, you think you may have done a nomination, but look at the fine print, it will say non-binding.
Okay, yeah.
And people are really surprised by that. So you need to do what we call a binding death benefit nomination for your super.
So can you go online and get a form and it's just like a stock standard Australian form and it's like, here's it is, that goes to the super company and they've got to tie it up.
Yeah, so the form is from your super fund.
Mhm.
So for example, Oz Super, if you type in Oz Super BDBN, then you can actually see a PDF form. And it's about 2 pages.
Yeah.
But the key with the BDBN is that there must be 2 witnesses that witness your signature.
Okay.
That's when you know it's a BDBN.
Okay, and that can be anybody. It doesn't have to be like a notary. Or,
no. It can be anybody, but not your beneficiary. So not your husband or wife or anybody related to them. And then post that off to your super fund.
Mm-hmm.
And the next key thing is make sure that BDBN is accepted by the super fund.
Yep.
And they've said it's valid.
Okay.
Because not much point doing it, and then the super fund says it's not valid.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, okay.
So,
fantastic. All right. I'm going to switch this up around a little bit, but here we go. What is business succession planning? Because I've had somebody contacted me and said, my accountant said I should be business succession planning. You need to go and talk to a lawyer. Like, what is business succession planning in this regard? We all know what succession planning is. It's that whole, especially if you're an employer and you're trying to succession plan somebody through your business. But what is it in regards to this?
Well, let's look at the words. Business succession.
Yeah.
You've got a business, right?
Yeah.
Succession. You want your business to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Succeed in the sense that it's profitable and making money and will continue to make money in the future. You've got a legacy.
Yeah.
But succeed in terms of what happens, right? If you want to take a really long holiday, okay, you want to go to Europe for 6 months, who's going to run your business? Do you need an enduring power of attorney? So that's another document to the will, okay? So if you want to go on an extended holiday, what happens if you're driving down Albany Highway and you have a car crash?
Yeah.
And you're incapacitated, okay, you can't run the business. What happens if you die? What happens to the business? What happens if you want to retire? You don't want to, you're in your 60s and you've had enough of the business, you want to retire. Or what if you just want to sell your business? So business succession is all about that next step and preparing for the future. Okay,
so it's very similar to, as we always say, if you're starting up a business, start it as if you're going to sell it.
Correct.
And that's what we always say. So that's very much the same. It's what happens if I'm going to sell the business, if something happened to me, whatever it might be. So that's what the business succession planning is. And you guys can help out with that sort of stuff?
We can. So business succession in itself is its own topic. So with the business, you can carry it on as a sole trader or in a trust or in a company or as a partnership or as a joint venture. So there's various ways you can conduct a business. Say you are conducting it in a company, we need to look at the company constitution. We need to look at who the shareholders and directors are. So again, us two in business, I own shares, I die, my will says it all goes to Paul. We want to make sure that Paul's not in the business with you. So that's business succession. We want to make sure Paul gets his money out, so we're going to get a valuation of the business. And if we're 50-50, Paul's entitled to half of that. But Mark has to find the money.
Of course.
To give that to Paul. So you're going to have to either sell up your business assets or get a mortgage on your home.
Well, there might be something in there where it's agreed that you go, okay, well, because it's so much. So let's say we've got a company which is worth 2 million, right? And all of a sudden you passed away and I don't have $1 million sitting in the bank to be able to pay out Paul. I don't even have $10 to do that because we've got this massive business loan. Maybe there's a thing in there which is a payment plan. already agreed by both parties that Paul gets 100,000 a year for the next 10 years or whatever.
Yep, so that's what you consider a buy-sell agreement for that. The buy-sell agreement doesn't also consider death. It also considers, what if, knock on wood, Paul and I divorced, okay? My shares are part of the pool for family law purposes, and therefore Paul can eventually own my shares. So divorce, he's now in business with you, so we've got to deal with that. What if we have a falling out?
Yeah, and that happens all the time.
I don't want to do business with you, Mark, anymore. Or I've had enough of Albany, I'm moving to Perth. Okay, I need to sell my shares.
So
what's the market value?
Okay, so with the succession planning, which you guys do, we do some succession planning to a point as well. Obviously, you guys take it to the next level. We'll give the basic advice for that. But yeah, that's pretty paramount, and for anybody in business is the succession planning. I actually had it kind of leads along the same road as this. Somebody came in from a farmer, so someone in the agricultural industry. If mum and dad are retiring from the business, how do I go about sorting out the paperwork? Because let's be honest, mum and dad who are like on the farm most of the time, they're living in the house on the farm. You might not, or you might have a property on there. How do we sort that out?
There's a lot of paperwork. So the starting point is probably your accountant.
Okay, so go to your accountant first.
So go to your accountant first, because if they are looking at retiring, then there might be a transfer of assets from mum and dad to you. You've got to make sure there's no capital gains tax.
Of course.
And there's no stamp duty. And that's where the accountant can come in. Okay. And then you also need to consider what documents are required. Do mum and dad pass the farm to you now on retirement? But are you going to fund their retirement, and how?
And that's probably the key, right? Is in a lot of cases, mum and dad's still living on the farm, and you're working the farm, but you're giving them obviously free rent and all that sort of stuff, and giving them some money towards whatever else, but they're still living and helping out on the farm. Because nobody really retires, right?
Nobody really retires. And what if mum and dad decide to come back as well?
That's right.
So there's lots of issues. So do we transfer the farm now or transfer the business now? Is there going to be any taxes on that? And how will it affect the outgoing, so mum and dad? What about the other children? So if you're passing the farm to your son, what happens to your sisters? Are they going to feel left out? Okay. Or do we wait until mum and dad die to pass the farm? But you take on the business. The farm is still with mum and dad. Okay,
so there's that clear definition between the farm and the business.
Correct.
And you've got to make sure that's
correct.
What you're
So I actually had a similar question last week from someone who's thinking dad wants to transfer the business to the son, very successful Albany business as well. And my first point of call was talk to your accountant, and then we'll get all your team together. So your team will include the accountant, and then the lawyers as well, a tax advisor if any, your bank manager, because there might be flow of funds. What if there's debt on the farm? Who's going to be responsible for that? So just got to get a team together.
Okay, so you said get a team together, which is great. Is it like you can all sit around the table at the same time, or is that easy? Well, it's got to be.
It's actually saving more money.
So there you go. Get your team together as well. Okay, I'm out of questions. Has anybody got any more questions? Then just throw them up there. But this has been amazing and eye-opening for myself, and I can see already for other people as well. People are loving it. We will keep this up on our Facebook page, and we will put it onto our YouTube channel as well, Albany BC TV. Albany BC TV is up. I might even put some snippets of this across the rest of our socials as well, so that everybody can see that it's there. It's here as a reference point for you, but if you have any questions about anything today, obviously you can give us a quick call, or give Bernadette a call at Great Southern Wills. She'll be able to help you out and point you in the right direction, and she's just there for you. So I think we're really done for today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much.
So just end note, I know it's a bit cliche, but where there's a will, there's a way. So please.
We're going to leave it on that note because that was terrible.
Please get a will.
Get a will. Thanks, guys.